marketplace. Scott's been with EXP. Scott, I think just about 7 years, and you have over 6,000 agents in his revenue share organization, which is truly incredible. And he's obviously built and changed and revised and benchmarked over the years, but we asked him if he would just join us this morning and share some of his best practices with the rest of us so we can learn from him. Scott, welcome.
Deb, thank you for having me. And Lou, two of my favorite people. Glad to be here.
Hey, I would have added to it, Scott, but I was letting people in the door while Debbie was running things and getting everybody in. But I just want to say to everybody, one, Scott's one of the most selfish, down-to-earth, great people that I've met through Gene. And you need to know this about him. EXP, probably when Gene joined around 2015, great company, great idea, but there's less than 200 people. And when Gene joined, he had his 10 best friends, he called, and everybody was tied in contracts or couldn't come right away, but was going to come. But he called Rob Flick and Scott Lewis came, and these three, Gene, Rob, and Scotty, literally built the foundation of what we're standing on right now with 87,000 people. And we are just thrilled to be friends with him, but I'm very appreciative that he's willing to jump out of one of his own meetings to share with you best practices and questions you might have. So Scotty, go. I just wanted to complete the introduction.
Lou, you're super generous, and it's been a fun ride for sure. And obviously, you couldn't make the move immediately, but you had a massive impact when you did. And so glad you were able to make that happen. And I know you're leading a lot of great people, and I can tell by looking around the room here, you've got a lot of great people on here. So a lot of new faces to me, which is exciting. For me, seeing EXP when I did, I didn't, like Lou said, it was one of those situations where I'd owned a Century 21. It was the fourth largest Century 21 in the US. And I literally said one day, this is the worst business model I've ever seen in my life. I can't wait to get out of real estate. And because I just saw what it did to agents, and agents are such hardworking, awesome people, but they never were getting ahead. They were never, it was this vicious cycle, right? And so when I saw this model, it was like a breath of fresh air. And I said, you know what, this is going to change the industry. And more importantly, it's going to change lives. And that's really, for me today, Deb and Lou, that's what still gets me up and excited and motivated about this great company is, it's served me and my family so well. And it's just been a huge, huge, huge blessing. And now it's just, it's giving back and helping people understand that the opportunity today is even bigger than it was 6 or 7 years ago. You guys don't know. EXP, the model was great, but the company was awful. There was no onboarding. If you wanted to onboard somebody, you did it yourself. There was no one making any money in revenue share. No one had the stock was worth 62 cents the first day I saw the company. Everybody was laughing. So you're going to the penny stock. So, and you hear that and you say, yeah, but it's different now. It is different now. It's different now because people are open to having conversations. I will tell you that I'm having easier and much better conversations with agents today than ever before. And I mean that 110%. It is easier to attract agents to this model today than it has ever been. And so it's because people are open to it now. They've heard of it. Most people, they'll say, oh yeah, I've looked at EXP, or, someone talked to me, or this, that, and other. But when you ask them to really break it down to what it means to them and what the opportunity is, they don't know. Because no one's ever really taken the time, 90% of the time, to show them truly how it can benefit them and how it can add value to their life. And so, you know, that being said, Lou, I mean, I can go in a million different directions from here, talk about whatever you want. I can do a Q&A. What is there something specific you want me to talk about? You know, I'm happy to go anywhere you want to go.
So I love that, because actually that's kind of the way it is when you guys are talking to people that are looking at EXP. You don't want to just say everything about it. You want to find out directly what maybe the interests them and concentrate on that. So I'd like to open up the mic a little bit. Kevin and his wife just joined us, and we appreciate that. He's a broker owner. They have a successful company in Florida. So I'm just curious if any of you guys want to start, maybe Kevin does, if you have any questions, what Scotty did or what he could share with you to help you, you really jumpstart what you're trying to do, or maybe get over an objection you've heard. Kevin, it might be interesting to hear what attracted you at this point. I know Dave just jumped on, so.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. And Scott, thank you for sharing everything you shared. Lisa and I are taking notes right now. We just joined in the last couple of weeks, and we're still folding in our brokerages in Florida and Washington, and got a couple more still with some stuff in the pipeline that make it a little more complicated for their movement into the company, but it's all happening right now. So we're super excited about it. And I'll just share with you, when you mentioned 2015, less than 200 people, we were approached in 2017, and we just thought, we're hoping to do that. And at that point, there might have been 1,400 agents or something in EXP. And we're thinking, all right, they're just a few years ahead of us. Let's see what we can do. Let's try to catch up. And quite candidly, EXP for us is everything we wish we could have built out for our own agents. And it's everything we would love to have been able to afford to build out. It's all very costly. But now that we're in it at this moment, it's so exciting because it's even more robust and more incredible for us and for our agents than it was when we looked at it in 2017. So for us, it's just a much better opportunity now, and it's a better opportunity for our agents. We're able to provide them opportunities that we just couldn't have afforded with our smaller, you know, independent brokerage. And so it's super exciting for us.
Awesome. Well, glad you're here. It's exciting times for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody have a question for Scott? Anything you're struggling with? Maybe an objection? I mean, we can go down different lanes. I just want you guys to have a chance to talk to him, just to get him on this Zoom is very important.
Like
Hey, Scott, other than you have an awesome
Started-
name, let me jump in here real quick. Whoops. Did we get 5 people jumping in? Sorry. Dave, you have Scott, you got an awesome name. I share that name. I want to share the wealth with you as well.
Let's do it.
I know you're a wealth of information, and it's hard to pull out some of the greatest moments of your EXP experience, but I want to pull the one out that really sets everybody aside. How much phone time do you spend just calling other agents and asking them if they would like to be with like to look at another business model?
Today or when I started?
Good question. When you started.
Yeah, when I started, there was no Zoom presentations. There was no PowerPoint presentation. There was the only thing I had was a yellow legal pad and a model that someone had shared in my head, which his name happened to be Gene Frederick, right? And so after seeing that model and seeing him do it 5 or 6 times, and taking some notes, I said, well, I can do that. And I literally started meeting with agents in my coffee shop. And I think one of the secrets to my success then was, I mean, still today, Zoom is powerful, but face-to-face is better. If you can get face-to-face with an agent, it's much better than Zoom. If you can see the whites of their eyes, so to speak. You know, they have to be engaged. And, you know, back then it was not easy, but I was so flipping excited about what I saw, and I knew it would change lives. And so I was literally showing this to 7 or 8 agents a day, 6 days a week, every day for about 9 months. And you say, well, how in the hell did you do that? Well, first of all, I made them come to me. I didn't go to them, right? So I wasn't spending any drive time. So I lived in a place where there was a coffee shop right below me, right? All of you probably have a coffee shop within at least a half a mile of your house, right? And so I would literally tell them to text me when they got to the parking lot. And that way, if I was a no-show, I would never leave my office, and I would just keep calling and setting appointments. And so when they showed up, I'm like, oh, I got to run. And I would jump on and throw on my shirt and go downstairs and run to the coffee shop and start drawing on my legal pad, right? And I double booked appointments because I knew that a lot of people wouldn't show up. And so that increased my chances of someone being there if I double booked. And then when someone did both show up at the same time, which I can remember happening a few times, I would say, guys, I am so sorry I double booked by accident. Would you both mind sitting in and so I can show you this at the same time? And be like, sure, no problem. And so then I got the opportunity to sit with 2 agents at the same time. And I did that day after day after day after day. And I'll be honest with you, looking back, the biggest mistake I made is I rarely followed up, but I was looking for people that were looking for us. I was looking for dreamers. I was looking for people that had a vision. The old adage is, you know, it's a whole lot easier to run with people that want to run than try to drag people that drag you down, right? So I was looking for other people that wanted to run in the beginning. And so I didn't even care about an agent that saw this and was like semi excited about it. Today, I'll spend more time with those people. But in the beginning, I was only looking for those that wanted to lace it up and rock and roll. And so I wasn't really following up. I was just, you know, trying to set a pace as fast as I could and not look back because I knew there were people following me. And if I set the pace fast enough, that there would be a number of people that would do the same thing, and that would create duplication, and that duplicating, it's a whole lot easier to build this fast than it is slow. Slow is painful. Slow sucks. Slow duplicates. Slow is like, okay, if you're going to build it slow, I'm going to build it slow too. Okay. And if you're going to build it slow, I'm going to build it slow too. And now you have a whole team of people going slow. Nobody wants that, right? So whatever you do will duplicate at 80%. And you might get lucky and find a Lou Ronayne and a Deb Ronayne right out of the gate. They're going to go crush it. But odds are it's going to take you a little while to find your leaders, to find your generals. You're going to have to go through a number of people to get, and you never know where they're going to be. I will tell you this, the first time Gene Frederick came to see me, we were in an elevator going up a bit up to do a presentation to a couple of people, and we're talking to the guy in the elevator, and you know, he wasn't licensed, but we were just excited and we were sharing what we were doing. And I found out 3 months later that he had bought some stock. And then he referred me to a guy that happened to be Randy Donnell that now has 1,000 people on his team, just from a conversation I had in an elevator, right? And so you don't know where they're going to come from. And I promise you this, they will never come where you expect them to come from.
So Scotty, that's awesome. And I appreciate that. So I think what happens, I've got my build hat on today, and they hear you or Brent or Gene, and they see these large organizations and they say, well, that's so far away. A lot of people here are still on their journey. They've been doing it. They've toughed it out. They've got people. They're working hard to get it bigger. What do you say to your team that's just, you know, just getting going. I know the big picture in that, but you know, one of the things I thought was interesting that you're at a stage now, we were talking the other day where Chris and Sue down in Ohio call, they had me talking to team leader Keller Williams that they were affiliated with at their old office. And we didn't get anywhere with the guy, but I thought it was interesting that you just hired a team leader from Keller Williams to be part of your team. So you might want to share that, and then just share with everyone some basic things so they don't get discouraged, and how important it is to have a plan, implement the plan, and every day just do one thing that is going to go through that.
Great insight, Lou. And the truth of the matter is, I know I have job security because most people aren't willing to do what I did. And I think most people that are doers and builders want to know the truth. They really want to know. When I find somebody that, and I can tell by looking at Kevin and your wife there, I mean, I can tell, I can look in your eyes and I can watch the way you react to me. And I go, these guys are going to build. And so I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did and exactly what it's going to take to get it done. Otherwise, people know, right? They know when you're not being honest. And the truth of the matter is, guys, the hardest part of this is getting to 20 agents. It's not easy. You're going to get no's. You're going to get down. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to have nights where you go, why am I doing this? You're going to, and you're going to, most people lose focus because it's like pushing that snowball up the mountain, right? And most people get distracted. Like you said, Lou, they don't have a written plan. Their dreams and their goals and their understanding of what's at stake is not big enough. And I always say, you know, if you think the price of success is expensive, which it is, wait until you get the bill of regret. And you have at your fingertips the most powerful wealth generating tool I have ever seen. And any single one of you can do it. But you're going to need to do a few things in the beginning to get you to 20. And then this getting from 20 to 100, as you know, Lou, is just about as hard as getting from 0 to 20. And it takes about the same amount of effort. But here's the really cool thing. Once you get to 100, you will have 2 or 3 generals, and the energy that you're going to start to get back is going to propel you. And going from 100 to 500 is about as easy as going from 0 to 20, or about as tough. It's about the same amount of work and energy. And it's easier because now you have people around you that are working for you in a sense and building your organization while they build their organization. And that's going to feed you and give you energy. And so the most difficult thing that you're going to do is the first is getting to 20 and then getting from 20 to 100. And it will not be easy for most people unless you already have a massive sphere of influence and you leverage that. And God bless you if you do. You're one of the chosen few that get that benefit. But if you don't have that, you're going to have to create it, and you can. But it just may take you a little bit longer. And so the thing that I did in the very beginning that I think separated the people that succeeded from those that didn't was I paired everyone up with a running partner or a running buddy, and they held each other accountable. And then we would all hold each other accountable. So if you think you can do this alone, you can't. If you think you can do it alone, it's not going to work for you. If you think you can do this alone, it's too hard. It's too tough. But I can tell you that I was talking to Rob Flick and Gene Frederick and Pat Hayes and Randy Donnell every single day, and sometimes hours. I remember a conversation one time, I was on the phone with Rob Flick and Gene Frederick, to exactly where I was sitting, and I watched the sun come up. Because we were on a freaking mission. And we were not going to let anything get in the way of what we were building, because we understood what was at stake. We understood the value of what we were building. Right. And so I think you've got to, you've really got to isolate your goals. You've got to dream bigger. That sounds cliche, but it's not. You've got to dust off those old dreams. You got to start being a kid again. You got to get excited again. You got to hang around people that want to win. You got to absolve yourself with the fact, if you're hanging around people that don't want to see you win, that they're going to drag you down and kill your dreams and stop your motivation and keep you from having what you and your family desire in life. So you have choices to make along the way that are going to make up the outcome of where you're going to be. And some of them are going to be very difficult choices, but you're going to have to make them if you want to win in this game. And, I look back at some of the things, I had and he says this all the time, one of my best friends, could somebody mute Judy? It's cutting in and out there. One of my best friends.
Looks like we lost about half the group.
Yeah, everything froze up.
I looked at the timer and it was still moving. So I thought, okay, it's not me.
I got a little nervous too.
Boy, this is
Puerto
awesome
Rico internet
stuff.
must have shut down.
Yeah. This was happening to me yesterday on one of my Zoom calls.
Scott's frozen in time.
Oh, and he's probably going to jump back in.
It says I'm the host now.
Oh, cool, Andrew.
I might switch that to someone else because I don't have where it goes longer than
Yeah, you
4
can
minutes.
move it to me if you want.
That shouldn't matter, Andrew. 'Cause
Okay.
It's their meeting.
Okay.
What are you going to do with this newfound power?
I don't know. God's back.
Hey, Lou.
That is incredible. I just want to say that's before he gets back in here.
Yeah, there he is. There's Scott.
Very encouraging.
My power went out and I'm now on my hotspot. And
Wow.
so, and my camera is haywire. So give me a sec here.
We were just all talking about how awesome this is, what you're sharing.
Scott, we're ready to go through a wall right now.
Yep.
I know I am.
Let's go.
Huh?
Hey, you've got
Yes.
people around you that'll go through a
Yes,
wall
I'm
with
listening
you.
to a webinar.
Damn the
with a
torpedoes,
special
full
guest
speed
then.
ahead.
Judy, you need to mute yourself.
Yeah, Judy needs
John,
to.
you're gonna have to build that coffee, that coffee house right next to your house. So that
Hey,
people
Scotty.
come, right?
Scotty, welcome to Puerto Rico. The power went out here and we lost the Zoom link. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, my power went out too, Lou. We both got kicked out. I'm on my hotspot now, so in my green screen. So, where did I stop? Somebody, and I'll try to pick up where I was telling.
You down.
People will drag you down. You
Keep
can't
from
do it alone. You're going to need to keep in touch with each other and lift each other up and keep running and plow through that wall together. You need to have a plan.
And so I was telling you my story about Jack Johnson. Did y'all hear any of that in playing golf?
No, we lost that. We didn't catch that.
Okay. So I was just relaying the story of one of my best friends that I'd played a lot of golf with when I first started building this, got really frustrated at me because I kept telling him no because he wanted to go play golf. Because before I saw this, I was playing golf 3 or 4 times a week. And that was one of the things that I decided to cut out to get this done temporarily. And, you know, to be honest with you, I mean, he was very frustrated with me. And he basically stopped calling me and, you know, you're just not a friend anymore. And so, dude, it doesn't have anything to do with you. I'm building something. And now he goes around telling everybody he wishes he would have done what I did. Right. And I just got to fly him out to Colorado to my new house in Vail and put him up for a week and take him to play my new country club and really, you know, rebuild and rekindle our friendship. And he says all the time, man, I'm so glad you did what you did. You taught me a lesson. Right. And so we have to get out of balance for a season. Sometimes you don't know how long that season is, but you know, it's that video where I don't know if you've seen it. I can't think of his name, but he coached Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, arguably two of the top basketball players ever, right? And he tells the story of when he was leaving his daughter when he was much younger, and she was crying because he was going to get on an airplane again. And he's like, baby, I'm so sorry, you know, but I got to put food on the table. And she said, well, Daddy, I'll eat half as much food if you'll stay home. And, you know, broke him, right? But he said in that instant, he had to make a decision. Am I going to go get on the plane or am I going to stay here? And obviously he decided to go get on the plane because on the other end of that flight was Michael Jordan, right? And now she comes to him, his daughter, and says, Daddy, I get it. Thank you for sacrificing for that period, because we have this unbelievable lifestyle today and we get to, you know, share time together. So it goes back to what I said earlier. If you want to do this and do it big, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to give up a few things. You're going to have to allot some time to it. You're going to have to make it a priority. You're going to have to surround yourself with people that want to see you win. You're going to have to stop watching the news. You're going to have to get away from people that don't want to see you win. You're going to have to protect the most valuable real estate ever created on the planet, the 6 inches between your ears, and stop listening to people, anything negative. It should get to a point when, I mean, I hear people on my call, I just got off my team call and one of my agents is going, well, I'm trying to do this. And I'm like, time out, stop freaking trying. You understand that good is the enemy of great. The minute you start trying is the minute you stop winning, because you just allowed your brain to go to try, and try never wins. See, it's here, guys. It's nowhere else. Your success is here. All here. And until you control what goes on around it on a daily basis, like you're protecting the most valuable piece of whatever in the world, and it's right here. And until you get that, you're going to struggle. You are going to struggle. And so many people think it's peripheral. What did you do, Scott? What were your scripts? That didn't have anything to do with it. What I said, how many hours, had nothing to do with my success. My success was a decision. Sorry, Lou. I went on a rant. I get fired up sometimes. Please forgive me.
No, I love it.
You just stay fired up, Lou. Quiet down.
We're going. Hey, Wendy had a question, and it's out of my chat box now. About Wendy, why don't you unmute and ask Scott your question? It's a good question for everybody.
I just asked Scott in the beginning when you started, when you picked up the phone and you talked to an agent, what was it that you said to them to get them to meet you for coffee?
Oh man, probably a lot of different things. You know, I'm not a script person. I had scripts, right, that with general stuff, but I can tell you, I just did it so much that it came natural. And sometimes, you know, it was never perfect, but it's probably a lot still the same today. It's asking them questions. Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your real estate business today? Well, it's a 9. How would you like for it to be a 10? I've got some ways to show you. I'm hanging around, running with some people where their real estate world right now in today's market is a 10. I'd love to show you what we're doing. Can we meet for coffee? Well, what is it? I mean, and back then nobody knew what EXP was. So we were talking openly about EXP. Some people don't want to do that today. I get it. You know, there are a number of people out there today that are poisoned. All right. And that they don't really understand what EXP is. And they've listened to all the FUD. They've listened to all the people. And I say right up front, we're not for everybody. And I'm not sure we're a good fit for you. And I'm not sure you're a good fit for me. But the only way we're going to figure that out is to sit down and talk. And I will tell you this, I remember there was a period in the beginning, I came out hot, man, and I just was retracting some great people. And I remember going through a period where it was no after no after no after no after no after no. And I'm like, what the heck? What happened? And so I called one of my accountability partners. I called Rob Flick. I said, dude, I'm frustrated because I'm getting a lot of no's now and no yeses. And he said, you're trying too hard. He said, you're trying way too hard. He said, do this. He said, when you sit down, why don't you try the takeaway right from the beginning? And why don't you try to get people to say no to you and push them away from you before you start trying to get them to say yes? Just see what happens. I'm like, okay. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. I don't remember her name, but I can remember exactly what she looked like. And I can tell you exactly where we were sitting. And she's right beside me at this round table, and I've got my legal pad, and I looked her right in the eyes and I said, and she was kind of sitting back in her chair, and I could tell she was a little bit aloof and not really that interested. She was just there because she was there. And I said, you know what? I said, this is probably not a good fit for you, but I'm going to show it to you anyway, because you may know someone that it is a good fit for. And in that minute, she leaned forward in her chair. She put her hands on the table and she started, I don't know exactly what she said, but she started selling herself to me and why she was a good fit and why she was a great agent and why she was, doing all these great things. I'm like, oh my God. Everything changed for me in that second, right? You've got the goods. They just don't know it. You've got the deal. I remember sitting across from Rob Flick one day, and this lady was just hammering him. And she said, I sold, I don't remember what it was, 40, 50 million last year, blah, 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 how great she was, and how she really didn't need this. And Rob looked her right in the eyes. He said, I don't want to know anything about what you're doing because I don't want your lifestyle. She was going on about how she had no time. She's working all the time, go and go and go. And he's like, you couldn't pay me enough to teach me what you do. You want what I have. I've got in the world. I don't have anywhere to be. I can sit here with you all day long because I have time freedom. And in a heartbeat, her attitude, see, winners like to be challenged. Successful people want to be challenged. And if you're not challenging them, they're not going to follow you. So you're going to, excuse my French, but you're going to piss some people off if you're doing this right. You're not going to make everybody happy. Not everyone's going to want to follow you, but they better remember you. Because if they don't remember you, if you're not getting under their skin just a little bit and calling them out and looking for those pain points, you're not digging deep enough. Because in those pain points is the magic. Because you have the answer to all other pain points. And when you figure out how to take this model and show them how they can overcome those pain points that, or those fears that they're living with every day, you'll start to win. You'll start attracting people. And in a heartbeat, everything in my business changed. Go ahead, Lou.
Hey, Scotty, I love what Gene shared with us about 3 weeks ago with, I think it was Randy, right, Bird, where somebody had been, and this is for everybody who's been talked to 100 times. I'm sure, I'm sure Kevin and Lisa have been talked to 100 times about EXP too, and finally they came. I mean, it's been a while. You guys have been down there doing your thing. But it was interesting because they expect you to start talking about EXP all the time. And what Randy did, he called somebody up who had been taught. He said, you know, for me, you know, he knew the person. And if someone from Keller Williams said, you know what, Randy, I've had 4 people talk to me. I know everything about EXP and where you're at. And then Randy shifted it on him and said, I'll say his name's Tom. Hey, Tom, let me ask you something. When you go out and show houses, are you showing them to rent them to somebody? He's, oh, no. He said, I'm showing they're going to buy. Oh, why do they want to buy? Well, he said they want to create equity in their lives. Oh, I get it. That's a good reason. He says, so then why are you working at a company that you are renting at? And they completely were blown away because they never thought of it that way. Guess what? The person joined as a big agent because they weren't thinking, they were just doing their job. Everyone talks about how busy they are. You shared that story about what Rob said. I don't care about your life, but they get stuck and you need to, that's not a script. That's just asking questions. I thought it was brilliant because every one of us talk to our clients all the time about creating equity, and the old people like me that have been in it 40 years have watched people over 40 years buy 4, 5, 6 homes, and their kids buying homes, and they've all made equity and built up. Well, it's the same thing with the brokerage. If you're at a broker and you're paying all this money and you don't get anything from it like stock, or in this case, if someone buys into the rev share, then they're missing out. So 2 things I've seen happen. If you guys don't subscribe to Inman, I know it's $25 a month. I've got credentials that are up for the sharing. All you got to do is text me and read the stories. There's great stories in there every week. They become kind of the gossip column of real estate. I don't care for the way they headline, but they have they do the heavy lifting. And one thing I saw last week, which was very interesting, Mike Lucas joined us a couple of weeks ago from a company called Romerica, and I knew their model. Their model was the broker paid 50 grand a year for the franchise, and then they charge a franchise fee and something else to all their agents. Well, what the agents never knew is that capped. So the rest of the franchise fee plus the broker fee for the office fee all went to the broker. And that's okay if that's the model, but it really was not disclosed. And there's a big lawsuit down in North Carolina with the Caldwell Banker office, the largest one there, big office. And what happened is Caldwell Banker came back to the franchise again and said, hey, we're going to give you a break on what you pay in franchise fees with your agents to us. Well, they didn't tell the agents. In fact, they told the agents, they lied to them and said, well, we didn't, we're paying all that money to you paying a franchise fee, which is substantial. The last year we were at Berkshire Hathaway, Debbie paid $40,000 to Berkshire Hathaway. And 30,000 of that, I think, was franchise fees. And so they lied and said, oh, that all goes to the company. They're in a class action lawsuit. So again, they're renting where they're at and they don't have equity. They don't even have a say-so. And so our platform is brilliant because you guys can build this the way you want. And a lot of companies right now are joining us like Kevin and Lisa because we have the model for them to build the way they want to build it, do that. But I just wanted to share that, Scott. I thought that was such a great line to get people to think and get out of their, okay, here's another person going to tell me something about EXP. They don't want to hear that, but you need to challenge them and sometimes ask them, well, tell me what you know already so I don't repeat it. And you're going to find out they don't really know anything. Most people don't tell them stuff that they need to know. Scott's got his mic in his hand, so I'm letting him talk.
Oh, sorry. No, that's great. So you're right, Lou. I mean, that's you know, it's certainly a great selling point, you know, of our model is the ownership. And, you know, there's just so much they don't know. And you have to take the time to find it. It's a needs analysis, right? It's no different than when you're recruiting to a team, or, you know, you've got to find out what their hot buttons are. It's different for every single one. There's no perfect script that's going to work for everybody. You know, you really have to ask a lot of questions. And in a true interview, the person you're talking to should be talking about 3 times as much as you do, right? And if you're the one doing all the talking, then they're going to leave there going, well, you know, this person, you know, all they care about is themselves. But if you're listening 70% of the time, then they're going to be like, oh, that person was really cool, right? So,
Yeah. I got another question here from Carol, and it's a great one. And I'm gonna read it, but I wanna start out something first. I'm guilty of this. Debbie would tell you I'm guilty of this. I think it's human nature to want to fast track something and take a shortcut, or take the easy button, hit the easy button. And I'm always in curiosity with that. So every time in January, I would warn our agents, and when we used to do our every Tuesday meeting, I said, be careful about all the emails you get and all the texts you get saying, we got this great lead generation thing, pay me to do this, pay me to do that. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, maybe $30,000 later, we still haven't found something that was a really good lead source to do that, except what Debbie was doing already, building a business based on referrals and past clients. It does work, and some people have done it. So Carol asked a question. I have a guy, I love that. There's a handyman service in our area called I Know a Guy. I have a guy by the name of Jeremy Bowman that wants to talk to me about getting agents on my downline. Is this legal or acceptable by EXP? I've done that. I paid somebody to do that. I gave him 3 months. It didn't work out. So I put shorter times now when I do that. Carol, I'll say this. I want Scott to chime in because he probably heard this too. I appreciate wanting to do that. And there's a thing called leverage. I would rather do what we're doing and leverage you guys and build you up, support you guys, and fill you up with information to help you guys go out and do it. I don't know anybody that's been successful yet having somebody else recruit for them. Sometimes people will call and set appointments, but the heavy lifting is always done by the person out there trying to get a listing, or in this case, trying to connect with an agent. And I always tell everybody, to be an attractor, you got to be a good agent. You got to be respectful, professional, answer your phone, be good to work with, and people are going to deal with you. So one of the things that happened in the last year, my aha moment, was that I've been out of real estate sales for 20 years, and Debbie's been in it. And now the attraction we get is people that Debbie does deals with, because she's professional. People love working with her. She's a pleasure to work with, and the deals close. And so they will take a call when she says, hey, have you talked to anybody that does, why don't you have lunch with us? Let's just share this with you. And so, Scott, I don't know if you've seen anybody. I like that Deb said, she has to remind me of this too, damn it. There's no magic pill for dieting and losing weight or attraction. I can't find a magic pill for dieting either.
Hey,
Scott,
Lou, I mean, people ask me all the time, what's the shortcut? How did you get so big so fast? What do you know that no one else knows? I get that at least 4 or 5 times a week. There is a shortcut. There's only one shortcut. And the shortcut is duplication. And without it, you're never going to have a large organization, ever. And I can show you a lot of people that are really good at recruiting on their front line. And what they do is not duplicatable, and they still have small organizations. If everybody on your team can't do what you do, it's not duplicatable. And if someone calls you and says they can recruit to your team, run. Because if they could truly do it and they understood the model, they would be doing it for themselves. They would not be asking you to write them a check. The only way you can have someone recruit for you is if you have a team and they're recruiting to your front line for you, and you're using it to get floor qualifiers, but those people are not going to duplicate because they can't go out and hire somebody to recruit to a team. Right. And so, yes, that's kind of in line with the old fashioned model. When you bought a Keller Williams franchise, when you bought a Century 21 franchise, you went out and hired a recruiter to that office, right? And they brought agents to you and you recruited them in the office. That works in that office, but it's not duplicatable. That's the fastest growing in real estate history, is because of the duplication. It's the only shortcut. See, J. Paul Getty knew it years ago. You help, I'd rather have 100% effort of, I'd rather have 1% effort of 100 than 100% effort of my own. You already are doing that now. Why would you want to keep doing that? The freedom is duplicating yourself so that other people can do what you do, and they teach people to teach people to teach people to teach. And so when that begins to happen and it starts to duplicate, people show up on your team that you didn't know, and you become insignificant. My goal was always to become insignificant, because I knew if I became insignificant, I had freedom. If you're looking for significance, if you've got to be the one, if you've always got to be in the middle of it, go buy a brokerage. You'll have all of that you want. It'll never end. You'll never be able to take a vacation without this. I promise you, because I did it for you. And you cannot hire somebody to duplicate. It's impossible.
So I'm going to challenge everybody. I mean, Scott, I really appreciate this. You've gone way longer than we kind of backdoored you and said, hey, come on for a half hour, and we got you for 45 minutes. And that's why we love you so much. You're just so giving and so knowledgeable. Somebody, and the Maloney's were down here and got a taste of this. I think it's fair to say Andrew and Holly and Tom went back all fired up about attraction. They've been with EXP a while. They got a good organization and they're great people. But when you get around other successful people like we've done down here, it's so funny because Deb and I combat all the time. Everyone thinks we're down here vacationing all the time and having fun. And, oh, I didn't want to bug you on vacation. I said, we're not. We're working remotely. Why? What the heck's the difference between us working in the sun and the Cahills down in Florida working in the sun? We get up and work every day. But I'm going to challenge everybody some, because someone brought this up the other day. I forget the book. I think it was 100 no's. And usually what happens, and I've done this in my team leader days at KW, I would go make my calls and I would get yeses. And once I got a couple of yeses, I felt good and I was excited. In fact, Chris Dayton and I did a thing during COVID where we had to talk to so many people a day. Well, this salesperson in the insurance industry wrote a book on it, and he was successful because he got 100. He went to 100 no's. And that's what the whole book was about. And he did it every day. He did not quit till 100 no's, because he might get some yeses along the way, but that wasn't going to hit his goals. So I would challenge everybody, if they want to start somewhere, just take a week and say, I'm going to keep track of 100 people that I talk to that say no for this week. And go try to do that. And for anybody to say that they can't make so many calls, 10 a day or whatever, then they haven't been around Gene Frederick or Scotty Lewis or any of the other people down here Brent Gove down here. Brent Gove gets up at sunrise, and him and Scott and Gene are out playing golf, and by the end of the day, they've probably each been on a half a dozen Zooms and I don't know how many phone calls. You can work, you just have to plan it. And so if somebody says, I'm not doing good at attraction, and I'm going to just say, start being accountable to yourself and write down what you're doing. Write down what you're doing. And if you're happy with the effort you're doing, then talk to me and we'll find out what you're doing wrong with that. But I'm going to guess that I've never been happy with my effort. I've been successful, but could I do more? Yeah. Do I kind of take comfort that I get somebody good and say, okay, I'm gonna go reward myself and we're gonna go out there. I mean, I'll share you with this. I like to be real with everybody because I know what disappointment is. Been doing this. We brought it to Michigan. There's a great guy down in Ohio that bought into this and said, okay, I'll take the phone call from Gene. Dave Best. I love Dave Best. Dave Best not only saw the opportunity and sold his office to get into it and do this, but he stayed loyal to Deb and I and said, no, they introduced us. That's who our sponsors are. And Dave has changed our lives. Dave has brought so many good people. Kevin and Lisa know it because they just are the latest to join. So many people in Ohio on the calls know how the influence and impact he's had on so many people, Maloney's, all of them. So I appreciate that so much. But here's the bottom line. You've got to just every day you've got to go and take those disappointments and fight through them like anything else. Because like Scotty said, it isn't easy. I apologized to Gene today on my walk. He said, we apologize for it. So all because I was talking to a mutual friend and he was complaining about how hard RevShare was and what's going on and this and that. And I said, Gene, I was that guy more than once over the last 6 years with you. And I apologize because you didn't deserve to hear that. Debbie knows because I have to apologize to her every day because I do stupid things. But the point of the matter is 5 weeks ago, our lives changed exponentially because somebody we talked to 6 years ago named Rick Barnes, who was really big at KW, joined our downline and brought a team with him of 28 people who in the last 5 weeks now has a team of 74 people that he's recruited and brought to eXp Realty. I can't keep up with him. And it's that one person that can change your lives and go find it. And Gene said, Lou, you got a runner. You got a Scotty Lewis and you got a Brent Gove and you got a Rob Flick. Run with them. And I'm telling you, it would change your lives. I'm not special. You guys all know me. I'm just someone that works hard and cares about people, but you got to find out if you really want that. And if you really want that, we'll help you any way we can. We always will. But I just find that everybody lies to themselves. I'm most guilty of it. I say I'm working hard and I could work harder. I'm working smart and I could work smarter. I just need you guys to really look at what that is and do that. And I say that out of caring because there's no company I've seen in 40 years has changed people's lives. In fact, the last 6 weeks we've been down here is the most time Gene and Susan and Deb and I have got to spend time together. And they were gone the first 10 days. I mean, every day there's something we're doing, dinner, golf, meeting. He was on a Zoom last time with us. And I love it because when we go to an event, when we have shareholders coming up, Scott can attest to this. I don't even try to talk to Gene. Susan's easy. Gene's the selfie expert with the pictures nowadays because everybody comes up to him out of the company. I don't know how many, there's probably 30,000 people in his group that, that he's brought at some level and even levels that he doesn't get counted on. And they said, Gene, you've changed my life. Scotty alluded to that earlier. He's still working as hard as he is now. And trust me, Scott's making a lot of money, but that does not motivate Scott. It does not motivate what him and Sharon do and their families do and all the fun stuff they do. He said it earlier. He cares enough about people that he wants to help change people's lives, and he has. And I'm telling you, it's intoxicating when you get that, and if you're around that and see the reward you get from there, because the money comes, right, Scott? The money's there. You just need to go out there and help people, and it will do that. And that's a common theme I hear from all the top attractors. Gene, Brent, Rob, Scott, name one, name any of them. And they'll say, I'm energized. It's changing people's lives. We're all making money together and celebrating together and having fun. And son of a gun, Gene's boat's going to be here tomorrow at noon, and we're going to be on that sucker because I've heard about his naughty nickel for 6 years, right, Scott? That's been his goal, and we're going to have fun with them and be glad and celebrate that he accomplished his goal, and you guys can too, whatever that is. So. Deb, you want to give some closing words and run this end it?
No, just real quick. Also, John and Jessica DeMay were here in Puerto Rico this time around. So I think we've had some good visits here. And Holly Maloney was supercharged, she and Tom. And so the idea came up to do our next mastermind here. And, you know, we did one in January in Northville, Michigan. It was well attended. We had some amazing feedback on it. So we want to do that again. And, you know, we're seriously considering doing it here. Now, you got a lot of opportunity and a lot of options on where you go and what you do and where you travel, how you spend your money and what kind of training you get into. But we are going to be working on this over the next month or two, and we'll get something out there because I don't know, show of hands here. Anybody thinking that they might show up in Puerto Rico for a mastermind and combine it with some fun? And we learn from the best, right? Good masterminds aren't being locked in a room from 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock at night. No siree. We're going to have some powerful sessions. And then once we get together for some fun in the sun, that's when real networking, and I think that's when the real magic happens. So just wanted you to know about that plan, and we'll keep you in the loop as we go forward. And thank you all for being here. Many, many thanks to Scott. I mean, this has just been tremendous. We did record it. We'll get it on YouTube and post a link. If you have anybody in your group that would love to listen to it, we'd love for them to hear it.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this, I'll stick my neck out because I know it's going to be here soon, but we'll find a way that we all get on there for a cocktail party on this boat and celebrate for everybody that comes down here for our mastermind. I'm sure we could talk to Gene and Susan and work something out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to want to be part of that, and maybe that's a goal you guys set and say, I'm going to be ready for that next year. So thank you guys. We appreciate you all. And again, like Deb said, we just can't thank Scott enough, and I hope you guys got something out of that. And we'll post the video in case you want to share it with people within your group and that. And you guys all have a great week, and contact us if you need anything. Thanks.